Hey there everybody, what's going on? This is TwoHeadedFlounder. Welcome back to another post-rotation deck profile. Of course, today we're going to be taking a look at this very, very powerful card right here. This is Rayquaza-gx. Now, if my phone would focus, that'd be lovely. This is a 180 HP basic, and it has a 3 retreat cost and a weakness to fairy. So, right away, just thinking, Gardi is going to have to do something about this, because, Gardi's probably the best fairy Pokemon we have right now. And not to mention that, everybody seems to be hyping up Rayquaza. And everybody thinks it's going to be a very powerful deck. I can understand why entirely. It seems from what people are believing, it's either play this or counter it. And I can definitely get behind that. But I think there's still room for a lot of other decks still in the standard format. So we're doing post-rotation. We're not worrying about all the other decks with a lot of strong supporters at the moment. So let's just get into this. So Rayquaza has the ability Strum and Drang. Basically, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you mill the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you take a basic energy from your discard pile and attach it to it. And ideally, this is going to be like hitting a max elixir by playing Rayquaza. Of course, this does mill us. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult to say that purposely milling yourself is a great thing, but it does get those energies into this discard pile, which will then benefit our ability even more. So, yeah. Attack is Dragon Break for a Grass, Lightning, and Colorless. Does 30 damage times the amount of Grass and Lightning attached to all of your Pokemon in play. So, right alone, just to get the attack off, we'll be doing 90 damage, and then every energy from there, we'll be adding an additional 30. So if we have 5 on the bench, we're adding 150 damage to that. So we're going to be hitting for 240, which is very easily done in this sort of a deck. So there is that. And we are playing, of course, 4 copies of this. I should also mention his GX attack before I put all these to the side. His GX attack is simply discard your hand, draw 10 cards for 1 grass energy. So ideally, if you lead off with this, there's your first turn right there. Ideally, you're going to be putting a couple energy into your discard pile and then drawing into more Rayquaza. And you'll have 10 cards in your hand, unless your opponent judges you. That's fantastic. Of course, they could copycat you first turn, which might not be too good, but there is always that option. So, and that's our only GX attack in the deck. That is usable. So, next up, we have 2 Lele's. Probably should use my real copies of Lele's. I'm just trying to proxy decks to test them before I buy cards and stuff, but all my Lele's are in my other decks at the moment. So, we got 2 copies of Lele. Of course, Wonder Tag is a fantastic ability. Search your deck for a supporter card, put it into your hand. We have the perfect way to get Guzma, so we can get our hefty 3 retreat Rayquaza out of the active, or we can grab Cynthia so we can get a new hand. Anything along those lines is very perfect. Lele is not one of those cards I think you want to use first turn in this deck. I think this is a card you want to leave in your deck. You want an open bench spot, and then somewhere down the road, when you get judged down to a low hand size or something along those lines, or you're drawing into a bunch of not so great cards, you're going to want to be able to use Lele. So I think it's one of those middle to late game kind of things, not a very early game card in this deck, I would have to say. Energy Drive, of course, great secondary attacker if we can manage to pull something off with it. And that's really all there is to say about Lele. You can't use his GX attack, there's no psychic energy, so not really that relevant. However, this card is very relevant. This is Latios Prism Star. 130 HP on a basic with 1 retreat. Fantastic. Weakness to Fairy. Doubling up on the weakness to Fairy here with Rayquaza, but it's fine. So Dream Mist does 30 damage for 1 colorless. Attach 1 basic energy card from your discard pile to each of your benched Dragon Pokemon. Of course, this is really, really good. And ideally, we're going to mill our deck, get a bunch of energy in there, have Latios Prism Star in the active spot to begin with, and really just go all in on attaching energy. And it's a great way to get some chip damage, and it's probably going to take a hit or 2. So that's always very awesome. So next up, we got 2 copies of Grubbin. Yes, we're playing Vikavolt in this. Grubbin is Grubbin. It's got 70 HP. It's got 2 retreat, and it does 20 damage for 2 colorless. I mean, we were playing grass and electric anyways, so the colorless is kind of irrelevant, but it's still nice to know. Maybe we might have to hit something for a grass weakness. You never know. Next up, we got Vikavolt. Strong charge, 150 HP, a very whoppingly heavy 3 retreat cost, and very good ability, seriously. You get to search your deck for a grass and electric energy, attach them to your Pokemon nameplate in any way you like, then shuffle your deck. So, of course, why this is super good is because Rayquaza needs a lot of energy in play to attack. This is accelerating 2 energy per Vikavolt per turn. So, this is awesome. Also, Electro Cannon is nothing to just kind of take lightly. 150 damage. If they're weak to electric, that's 300 damage. That's a guaranteed knockout on something. But you have to discard 3 energy from this Pokemon to use this attack. But that's fine because you just, charge yourself up anyways. It's a great additional attacker if you really need it. It's non-EX, non-GX, so that's a plus. And on top of it, with a Choice Band, it hits 180, so we can do a lot of damage to a lot of things in the game. And lastly, for Pokemon, we have 2 Trico. I'm using the 70 HP one because I would like to survive more hits. You can use the other one that does a lot of status shenanigans with, like, I want to say it's Confusion Poison, but it might be Paralysis Poison. If it's Paralysis Poison, that's really good. It's probably Confusion Poison, but we're using this one for HP. That's all that really needs to be said about that. And lastly, 2 copies of Sceptile. So why we're playing this is, well, because this is a great additional attacker. On the same kind of set that Rayquaza is, it has Powerful Storm, but for 1 grass energy. This attack does 20 damage times the number of energy attached to all your Pokemon in play. So another one of those, we need energy to do a lot of damage, guys, but this is non-GX, which is fantastic. It's fairly bulky. It's going to be able to survive a hit for sure. And it gives us another weakness to the deck, so we have other options. So if we're going against Gardi, maybe we can focus more on Vikavolt and Sceptile. And because it's a 1 energy attack cost, that's really good for us. However, Nature Power is a fantastic ability. Prevent all damage done to your opponents by your opponent's Ultra Beast Pokemon to any of your Pokemon with Grass Energy attached to them. So, if they have no way of shutting off her ability, which in the post-rotation there is not very much, yeah, Grass is going to make it so we don't have to deal with any of those annoying Ultra Beasts. We don't have to take any damage from Buzzwole. We don't have to take any damage from Celesteela, Stakataka, Naganadel, you name it. And I think this is a very, very solid card. And I think it just synergizes very well with Rayquaza. So, we're playing Vikavolt and we're playing Rare Candy. We might as well go all in on that as well and just try for it. So next up, we're playing 3 copies of Cynthia because... Best supporter. Did I say 3? We're playing 4. We're playing 4 copies due to the fact that it's the best supporter. We want that consistency. We're already milling our deck to begin with. We just want to have the best supporter at the best situation. So, yeah. Next up, we have 4 copies of Guzma. A couple of guys in this deck have a very heavy retreat cost, plus the fact that we are milling ourselves. We may lose a couple of copies of Guzma along the way. Maybe we have to Ultra Ball them away as well. So, just maxing out seems like a good idea. Next up, dropped all my cards. Oh, very professional. We got 3 copies of Copycat. So what Copycat does is it lets us copy the hand size of our opponent, and that's always just good. And we're not playing Zoroark deck here, which means if we do go against Zoroark decks, this is going to help us out a lot, seriously. This is a great way to just be like, alright, well, you really needed to put 10 cards into your hand, so thanks a lot. I'll take that. I was debating Tate and Liza just because the chance to Shauna / just go for the switch effect could also seem very usable, but I just really think Copycat is a lot more useful in this deck. And lastly, for our supporters, we're actually playing one copy of Fisherman. It's going to be reprinted. I figure why not? We're going to be milling ourselves anyways. Plus, if our Rayquaza gets knocked out, we're going to want to try and get those energies back into play. So, why not Fisherman? Search your deck, discard pile for 4 basic energy cards, show them to your opponent, and then put them into your hand. Doesn't go into the deck, which would be a lot better. But figured instead of using 2 copies of energy recycler, that's it, we'd be able to use Fisherman and maybe Cynthia them into our deck or copycat them into our deck, but this is reusable via Palpad. So if we discard it and we discard energy recycler, at least we can get this one back. So that's why we're playing a copy of that. Alright, next up we got 4 copies of Rare Candy. Running low on the Rare Candy, so I had to proxy these ones, but you know, that's what happens when you try and make like 5 deck videos, and yeah. So we got 4 copies of Rare Candy. We're going all in on Vikavolt and Sceptile. Even in the decks that you don't think Sceptile is going to be too useful, it could be very versatile and useful, especially with that 1 retreat cost. So Rare Candy, very, very essential to this deck, and just having it in the hand with those guys seems to be very, very important. Next up, we got 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Yes, we're playing Ultra Ball. 4 copies. I know we have some Psychic and we have some Dragon in the deck. We have exactly 7, which is 1 more than... Well, actually, it's 1 less than the rest of the deck, but yeah, Ultra Ball. We want the energies in the discard pile. If we can use 2 energy to pay for Ultra Ball's cost, then that's a lot better than using Mysterious Treasure and just discarding 1. So, 4 copies of that. Plus this grab Sceptile and Vikavolt, which is very nice. Now we got 2 copies of Nest Ball. You could potentially go ahead and run something like Fan Club. I don't really think that's the greatest. I'd rather just use Nest Ball. So ideally, what Nest Ball is going to be used for is just grabbing the Grubbins or the Trico if you really need it. If you can get like double Nest Ball in 1 turn, double Grubbin down to the bench, I think that's ideal. You want to make sure that you have them in play just so your opponent's not like, Guzma, you know, knockout. So, double Nest Ball seems like a good option. Next up, we have 2 copies of Mysterious Treasure. Again, this just grabs Psychic and Dragon Pokemon, but it's very useful and it's an extra search card, so of course we're going to be playing it. It's not really much to be said. You search out Rayquaza-gx for discarding 1 item or 1 card, so that's fine. We have 3 copies of Choice Band. I was debating on whether or not 2 was doable. I think that Sceptile and Vikavolt really do appreciate having Choice Band. I don't necessarily think Rayquaza actually needs the Choice Band, but you know, maybe you don't have as much energy in play as you want. Maybe go ahead and use Choice Band. Why not? Next up, we got 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher. Yes, 2, because we are discarding a lot of cards. So if we accidentally mill our Vikavolt with Rayquaza, that's probably not too good. So I don't want to get those back. Plus, reusing Rayquazas if they get knocked out to attach an energy could mean the difference between a KO and no KO for the turn. So very useful, very, very good. Next up, we're playing a single copy of Energy Recycler. Yes, I already mentioned this. You got to shuffle 5 basic energies from your discard pile into your deck. Seems a lot better on paper than Fisherman, but with Palpad, Fisherman is at least reusable. While this one, if it gets discarded, then it's discarded. So, yes, you could run 2 of these, and I think 2 of these could be perfectly fine. I just think that if I get to use both of these in a game, I get to use this one twice, and then this one once, which is a total of 3 times. And I think that is usually pretty good. Next up, we have Palpad. Shuffle 2 supporters from your discard pile into your deck. There's just nothing wrong with that. That's just really, really good. And for our energy count, I did watch quite a few of decks, or what people think the correct energy count is. A lot of people seem to think that 7/7 is the correct amount of energy. And I would be inclined to agree with that, due to the fact that we want so much energy in play. Plus, when we mill, we want to hit energy and not really anything else. So, yeah, 14 energy seems pretty solid, and I'm okay with that. So, you know, that's what the deck looks like. I like it a lot. I think it's very good. I think there's a lot of potential here. I do think that Arbor can be very scary, so maybe Vikavolt and Sceptile are just great inclusions for something like that. If you could maybe find a Steel attacker to deal with them, maybe like something along the lines of Duskmane Necrozma or something like that, that could be a cool tech. However, you know, you'd also need like Kukui in the deck as well, so I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys all so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, you could leave a like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Stay up to date with my future content. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.